friends, we are back with another What in the World, What the Fuck Wednesday. I don't know. I had the only person that told me any ideas of what to call this was my husband, and he said, What the fuck Wednesday. So that's also very fitting. So that's where we're at with the name so far. But today, we are going to talk about couple things. And it's funny because sometimes I wonder about, well, especially this one, naming the podcast and whether it's going to be like flagged or something. But then I think about like there's people that name it like way worse and like more, not worse, but like things that are very obvious that would get theirs flagged. So I'm like, no, this really isn't that bad. But I really had to like put some thought into what made sense for me to do right now because I I cannot just sit here and do nothing and ignore what's happening in the world. I can't, obviously. That's very clear. I think most of us can't. Like things are so fucked up. And I almost feel like every week I record this episode, I wish that I could come on and be like, good news of some sort. I don't know. Maybe I will need to bring in, I'll need to like add in something where it's like, here's the good news for this week. I will do that for next week. We'll do that because we do need that side of things also. And I wish overall it was getting better, but it's really not. It's not. And I'm not going to pretend that it is, but I am going to talk about a second thing, obviously, at the end of this, which is going to really piss off the people who believe they're in control right now. Essentially, they are. But there's a second thing that we can do that is going to help us out also, which I'm going to talk about. So, what I do want to say though is right now, in a world where you feel like your choices are being limited, you don't know how to make an impact, what would make a difference. We can't be looking to change all the things at the top where we have no control because we can't control, unfortunately, what's going on at the very top of things. It's looking at what's right in front of us, how we can come together and support each other because right now they can't take that away. I don't know how they would ever. Let's just not even go there. But that's the thing that is going to make the difference. And I'm going to say this, being Canadian, being a woman, there are so many messages out there right now, obviously, that are like, just support Canada, buy Canadian, all of that. And I get that. And I support that for a lot of things. I totally get why that's happening. Obviously, a lot of us do. And I'm a business owner who, unfortunately, can't move my entire business to be fully operating on like Canadian-based platforms, apps, etc., and move away from everything to all Canadian. And it's not even a thing where like I necessarily like quote unquote want to because that's not really for my business the point. I have a lot of American friends who are wholly against what is happening as well. And so, like, this whole thing feels really hard. It's really fucking hard. And there's this shifting of this, like, us versus them mentality onto some of the wrong places and people where it should be really at the top, right? And I say that and I still understand that with some things, yes, keep like buy Canadian, do all of those things. Now, what I'm doing as a individual business owner who runs my business online, I'm creating a resource called the Safe List. It's a resource for business owners who are looking to make sure that you are spending with and supporting businesses who value all human rights and are looking to make a positive difference in the world right now when we need it the most. Because I think that that is very important and it's something that I can do. So this includes Canadian owned businesses. And I will caveat this with they also have to be aligned with these values because this is not something where it's just because it's Canada, they're all aligned with the same thing. Unfortunately, we do have people here as well who would become the 51st state if that was a choice, which it's not. And that's very unfortunate. Anyone like that would not be on the list. And I'm not sorry, but no, no, um, that's not happening. So we're making that very clear. But that's why, like, it's Canadian owned businesses with these same values, US owned businesses, not in support of the current administration either. I also want to make a point of businesses based in Ukraine, as well as those owned by people who had to leave due to the war, continue to choose to run their businesses open elsewhere. I think that that is extremely important, and businesses based elsewhere in the world that align with these same values. Because I see this a lot more as a value-based thing than a political thing, because that's what it's becoming. And that's why I think it's important to not so much base it on only where you're located and say this can only be Canadian businesses, because there's so many people elsewhere that are against what is going on. And I think that it's important to make sure that, you know, people who are not for that are also included, and that we can identify that, like, that's not a thing that they are supporting. Because unfortunately, and I've said this before, I will not support anyone who is supporting that. And so I do want to know. And I think a lot of people do. I also realize that for some people, it may be a hard ask to make this publicly known due to fears around like losing followers, clients, messages that you might receive, all of that. And that's why some people choose not to say anything publicly. Again, the thing is, this is no longer political. Like, it's really not. The fact that, like, I'm in Canada having such a strong stance about this, obviously, I mean, there's also the fact that that guy wants to take over our country. So there's that. But never before has the results of an election had this much impact on the world. Never. In our time, anyways. I don't know. Maybe like many, many years ago. But it's not political. This is very much personal humanity, like crossing lines that are, it's different. So, on a macro level, yeah, like our countries are not aligned, obviously. It's very clear. But what I really see is an opportunity on a micro level where, as people and as business owners, we can and should still support each other if our values align and if that makes sense. Obviously, like online, it's different. We don't have tariffs and all of that applied. So it's different when it's like purchasing things and all when it comes to that sort of thing. But this is just, I, I feel so strongly about this. And in a lot of ways, with a lot of what is going on, it doesn't always feel like we can make a really effective individual impact, even if you're someone in the US who has been making calls and doing all of these things. Like, it's that obviously needs to happen. Please keep doing that because I'm sure that at some point maybe they'll get sick of it and someone will stand up and do something that would be great. Um, but there's other things like this that we can do at an individual level because, you know, it's even looking at, and this is where it just gets me. And even living in Canada, because these are things too that are kind of seeping up here. The beliefs are kind of like moving their way along, you know? But you personally can't overturn like anti-abortion laws that will result in women losing their access to proper health care in their lives. And this, as someone who, I mean, when I was an ICU nurse, I saw women that hemorrhaged and died. And so it's things like this that it does really make me fucking mad because I know what's going to happen, even if I don't live there. It really, it hurts me for humanity. It really does. And when we're talking about like ICE detaining people, they've detained people that are there from Canada. Like I would not feel safe at all. At all. And I know people who are there visiting, traveling right now, even though most people are boycotting that. And personally, I think that that's insane to go because it's taking a huge risk, which that's crazy to say. But we can't control that. And we can't stop, the trade war from becoming World War III, which, like, what the fuck? How is this even a conversation we're having? It's things like this. If that's going to happen, I don't know. It's, there are things that hopefully, people are doing protests. There's things that are going on that hopefully will have an impact, but there are other things on an individual level that at least we can support each other because there's like so many more things, obviously, that I could say and point out that are so fucking wrong on every level. And it's really hard to ignore. But I think the best thing that we can do right now is what we can, which is supporting each other and coming together as allies on like a micro level because we can do that. And so this safe list, it's going to include online businesses, business owners, platforms, apps, business resources that align with the values stated. And that's basically valuing all human rights. Like, I don't even know that it's wild to me that, like, this is even a thing, but it actually is. So it is. And I'm not doing this for obviously any like cost fee. There's none of that. Like, if you want to be on the list, you can be on the list as long as your values are aligned. It's going to be available through just a link. Sorry, I have a cold and it's gross right now. Anyways, the list is going to be available through a link. It's not an opt-in. It's nothing like that. It's like a Google Doc. It's going to be very simple. So don't like expect fancy anything, but it's just, this is like the businesses that are, you know, aligned with supporting all human rights. And I would love if you could share it to friends, business owners, anyone that you think would like to be included or would find it valuable. Because I really do think that it's these kind of things that we can do to support each other. And that's what's going to be really important. And moving on to the next thing, it's kind of funny, kind of not, because, well, we have to laugh at some shit. I mean, fuck, what else do you do? But the second thing, the best way to piss off the patriarchy, can you guess? Best way. The ones who believe that they're controlling the narrative. What do you think would be like the best thing to piss them off? Taking control back for ourselves, making sure that we are as fully resourced as possible. And if you've ever heard me talk about the successful bitch, it's in some of my content, I think in one of the podcasts that I did, like, it's that. And this doesn't mean being a bitch. Like, I'm not a bitch. But when, especially as women, we are successful and we're actually like obtaining that success ourselves, where it's, you're seen as a bitch. So the best thing that you can do is be the successful bitch, because that is not your problem. It doesn't need to stop you from going after exactly what you want and what you need right now. And we need to be making sure that as women business owners, and sorry if there's men listening, you'll like go be successful too, but this is obviously, and it should be obvious why, a message for women. We need to do what we need to do to put ourselves in that position to be making money so that we have control over our lives. And the way that you do that is making sure that you are not holding back. Like, now is the time to truly like just fucking go after it. Now is the time. If there ever was one, it's now. I kind of think of it and I'm like, really, what do you have to lose? And this was part of the reason I started my business. It was to help women be able to make money to support themselves and set up your business properly so that you can live the life you want and do what you want in your life. And I kind of feel even more passionate about it now than ever because of everything that's going on. Like, it is kind of become more important now than in, not that it ever has been, maybe, but maybe it kind of is. Like it really kind of is. And, we can't control a lot of what is going on, but we can make sure that we're setting ourselves up to be as resourced as possible, no matter what happens. And I think that that's super important. And it's exactly what I do with clients, like not in a doom and gloom way. Like we don't do this and we're like, just in case the world's ending. Like it's really not it. But helping you set up your business so that you're actually making good money, recurring income that's going to support you, and helping you have a business that's set up with systems, strategy so that you can scale it. And like the true definition of scaling, and also having time outside of your business to do what you want, not just working as hard as you can to make money and burning out and not having any time to actually enjoy yourself. So it's just, that's what's going to piss them off. And it's super important to make sure that we all just really go after it. So there's a few things I want you to do today. Share this episode, let people know about the safe list. If you want to be included, message me on Instagram or my email. I think it's in the show notes. If not, or in my contact thing. If not, I will add it to the show notes. I also want you to book a free recurring revenue strategy call. These are free calls with me, and we can chat about how you can set up your business or close any gaps that you might have to make sure that you are set up to be as successful as possible. Because that's what you need right now. And that's what I want for you. So the link is in the show notes. I have a few spots left this month, so make sure you go grab one. And I would love if you would give the podcast a 5-star rating and review. And as always, go after everything that you fucking want and be unapologetic about it.